What's going on? What's going on? It's your boy, Storyteller Jet, with another episode of the That's So Fire talk show. And today we have an amazing story that we are going to highlight here on the show. Ari Page on the show, from shipyard to funding $2 billion, is going to be incredible. So if you are looking to grow your business, if you are looking to fund your business, this is the right place for you right now. And super excited to have you on the show, Ari.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Let's go, man. Let's go. So much stuff that we're going to be talking about, and I think this is going to be a fantastic one. So before we get started, Ari, let's do a quick introduction. Who is Ari Page?
So, I am the CEO of Fund and Grow, and I'm also a father of two beautiful children.
That's awesome. And you said that they are like 22 and 20 right now?
Yep, 22 and 20. I'm learning to let them go.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
It's hard.
I probably would need to ask you for like some parenting advice because I have three young girls, 6, 4, and 2. You've gone probably through the thick of it, like growing 2 kids, and now they're 22 and 20. So
Yeah.
it would be awesome. One of the very first questions that I like to ask people on the show is, what's their origin story? So how did you get started in what you're doing right now? Like, what's your life look like? Your journey look like?
Oh man, my origin story. So, well, going all the way back to me as a youngster, I actually grew up in a Amish like community. It wasn't exactly the Amish, but very similar to that. And I really learned the power of the group from working at the place that I grew up. And they put us to work very young. They didn't know anything about OSHA. And so so we were working very young. But then I left there, and I was working in the shipyards in Virginia, Norfolk, Virginia, working on Navy ships.
Oh, really?
And that was a lot of fun, but it was grueling. I would work like 12-hour days for like 6 days in a row. Sometimes we'd do like 7/10s, meaning 7 days in a row, 10-hour days. And my kids were really young at the time. And so that kind of sucked. And so, but then I bumped into learning about the law of attraction, which absolutely blew my mind, opened up everything for me.
Really?
And then from there, that's when I transitioned into business. First it was working for my mentor, Dave Candle, and he taught me how to do mortgages and those types of loans. But that was right as the markets were starting to crash. The end of 2007, the mortgage companies were already feeling it big time. The loan to value amounts were dropping, and they were dropping fast. And so we had to figure out, how can we help these clients come up with stopgap money to be able to close on these loans?
Wow.
And that's where we turned to business credit cards.
That is an amazing story, man. And one thing you didn't mention, we'll chat about that in a little bit, is that you didn't even get to finish high school.
Yeah. They weren't big in that in the Amish.
Yeah. We'll chat about that in a little bit as well. But there is something that you just mentioned that kind of I want to learn more about. You mentioned that's when you discovered the law of attraction. What is the law of attraction?
Wow. Well, it's a whole topic. But for me, it started, the very beginning of that was watching the documentary The Secret, which is kind of a flashy documentary talking about the law of attraction. But to state it simply, the law of attraction basically states that everything around us is made up of atomic energy, right? Our bodies are made up of it. The stars are made up of it. The earth is made up. There's nothing that's not made up of it. And that our consciousness interacts with the atomic energy around us, and it brings to us the average balance of our being. So if we are someone who internally holds joy and love and happiness, then that on average becomes the experience that we manifest. Whereas if I'm constantly thinking of negative things and projecting that outwards, I'm projecting that into this field of energy. That's what then manifests. And of course, you're going to get different answers for when people ask you about what is the law of attraction. But essentially, that's a great, beginning point.
Yeah, and why is that so important to your life? And like, why is that made such an impact on you?
Well, because it changed everything for me. It changed absolutely everything. Every single choice that I made to leave my job at the shipyard, to get involved with Dave at the mortgage company, because I knew nothing about that. Growing up in the Amish, like, you don't learn anything about that. In fact, you're taught that money is bad. I had to change my way of thinking. Instead of focusing on what I didn't want, I had to focus on what I do want. And so often we're focusing on what we don't want, thinking that we're going to get what we want. Because there's two sides to every thought. There's the wanted and the unwanted. And so when I'm focusing on having a beautiful life, it could be like, well, I want this beautiful life, but I need this for it and I need that for it. And it has to be like this. Well, no, no, no. That's all the unwanted side of it. So the more that we focus on what we want, the more that the universe yields that to us. And so when I learned about it, I stopped complaining and arguing and being upset. And I started channeling my energy, so to speak, my focus towards what I actually wanted. And would it surprise you that an old friend, Dave Candle, who became my mentor, suddenly gave me a call and was like, hey, you need to get involved in this mortgage thing. And it never would have happened if I had not already started changing my way of thinking. Even if I had got that call, I would have been like, no, he was always keeping in touch with me, but I just would never make the leap
Mhm.
until I changed my way of thinking.
I
And
love
so it
that.
changed everything for me.
That's awesome. Um, it's awesome to always hear like when something that somebody learns that has completely shifted their thinking and that has actually contributed to their success. So I think that was that moment for you. That's incredible. Thank you for sharing that. Um, you mentioned that you were raised in an Amish like community. How was it like being raised in an Amish like community?
Well, first off, I would never change it for anything. It's definitely a different experience. Let's put it that way. They dress very differently. They're very communal. It was People don't live in like individual dwellings. You kind of like all living in apartment like. I mean, everyone has their own family space, but it's it was a beautiful upbringing, and I really appreciate that community. And many of my family still live there, and they're just wonderful, good people. They're loving, they're kind, they're open. Um, I credit everything to the work ethic and the open-minded attitude that I learned at the community.
Yeah. I guess that's my follow up question to you. What was the biggest lesson that you've learned through living through an Amish like community that has translated to your success today?
Oh, without a doubt, it is getting people to work together. People working together at the community. That's what they are. They're a big organized workforce. They have like, for an Amish community, these guys are making amazing money. It's unbelievable, the businesses that they own. Because again, I use the word Amish like. They're not actually the Amish. They're similar to the Amish. The Amish all live in their own homes separately. They all have different businesses. Like, they work the fields or they do woodworking. These guys work together. And that power of the group that I mentioned earlier, that's what I've implemented at Fund and Grow and other companies that I own, is getting people to be able to work together cohesively and to appreciate each other, to love each other. Because we work in a cutthroat environment. We're dealing with people's credit and their money, and you're dealing with clients. This is not an easy type of environment to get people to appreciate each other. And if you can get them to appreciate each other, they'll appreciate and love the client. And then it becomes much more of an exciting kind of program for the client to go through, because they're dealing with people that are really emotionally balanced. We actually do law of attraction classes at Fund and Grow from time to time.
Interesting. Is that where you learn about the law of attraction through that Amish like community?
No, no, they're very Christian.
Okay.
They probably would disagree with the law of attraction.
I see. So I know you mentioned that you never finished high school. What was education like growing through the Amish like community?
So they have fully accredited schools there, but at the time, they would educate up until 8th grade and then send you to the public school. And then so I went through 10th grade, and then I was kind of encouraged to drop out. So I did. And but you learn a lot of experiences there. Like you're working, doing a whole variety of different things there. And so people that leave that community, they're set up where they could go out and do a whole variety of things. Like I'm not necessarily a great person with my hands, but I was able to work at the shipyards for many years to do blueprint reading. It was called ship fitting, where you're cutting out and putting new things into Navy ships.
Mhm.
And I wouldn't have known how to do any of that if it hadn't been from growing up there.
Yeah, that's incredible. So normally people think about success, about going through school, about going to get the college degrees, about graduating high school, getting college degrees, and get a good job. Um, what would you say is the prerequisite of success
The prerequisite of
as it
success.
relates to education?
Well, I'm not a big believer in being like, going to college and all of those things. Um, I mean, it certainly wasn't needed in my life, and I really enjoy and I love my life thoroughly. And I can say if it wasn't needed for me, I wouldn't really recommend it for others. Maybe, obviously, if you're going to be a doctor, if you're going to be a lawyer, you got to go to school. If that's what your dream is, then you got to do that. And so for them, for people that are doing that, all power to them. They're good at that. I wasn't necessarily a school kind of person. And like my children, for example, they've all finished high school because for me, I would never let them drop out for some reason, even though I did. But my daughter, she started college, and she was going to the Ringling Arts College
Hmm.
here, not far from here, and it wasn't for her. She ended up calling me. It's like, Dad, I want to come home. And she started working at Fund and Grow,
Yeah.
and she worked in two different departments there. And recently, she's moved into the marketing department, where she's able to use more of her artistic side, and she absolutely loves it. And to see that growth in her, it just reminds me of me.
Yeah, that's incredible. Man, yeah. Back in Haiti, that education is kind of a big thing. If you would tell people, hey, not to go to school and doing all of that, they are going to be looking down at you. But I just kind of see like the trends, like, even here in the US, like a lot of people that did not even invest in school that are extremely successful at what they do. Would you have said that your life would have looked different if you decided to finish high school or to go to college?
I mean, possibly. I don't know how it would have been different. I don't know that it would have been better. I think that going down that path wasn't exactly, the right path for me because I'm not really a punch a clock kind of guy. And it feels like you have to put your mind through all the routines that they want you to. And that's only gotten more extreme, since I was younger. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know that they would have been necessarily the right direction for me. I might not have excelled as much.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the story about you starting Fun and Grow. And that was kind of like a something that is typically not happened when you're starting something. It's an opportunity that presented yourself that, somebody else turned down and you decided to pursue it. So when did you know that you wanted to pursue Fun and Grow?
So I was working for Dave Candle doing the mortgages, and the markets started crashing. And we realized at that point that we needed to do something different. And so at that time, Dave kind of got out of the business. He got out of doing mortgages. He had already been doing it for many years. He was like ready to retire. He was ready to move on. And me and another guy, Daniel, who's my chief financial officer now, uh, me and him decided that we were going to take on the business. And I personally bought the business from Dave. And that was just basically the concept of applying for business credit cards. And at that time, what Dave taught me was the wonderful world of affiliate marketing and going to events. So I know you're already very familiar with that,
Yeah.
but that is just an absolute game changer. And so from there, the affiliates that we were working with in the mortgage industry when we started selling the business credit card program, we were selling it at $1,500 an hour. And but then when I bought the company, they pretty much were like, listen, all right, we can't do $1,500 an hour on an ongoing basis. You're charging our clients for 15, 20 hours of this. And I was like, why not? This is great. And they were like, no, you have to create a package out of this. You have to cap that cost and create some type of a less expensive way that people can get access to this. You're just applying for credit cards. And so we created essentially the Fund and Grow membership out of that. It went through an evolution. In our early days, we were called credit card builders, which is a very direct term to what we were doing, building credit cards. But Fund and Grow speaks much more to what we do today, because we're not only about getting them business credit cards, we also are about helping their business grow. We have a whole program that's based on helping their businesses grow. So we went from doing the mortgages to our affiliates kind of asking us, hey, you need to create a program out of this. And so that kind of is what forced me to look at it differently. And then since then we've grown, and we've, literally created like over 1,000 affiliates.
Yeah. You mentioned affiliates probably like 20 times over the past like 2 minutes. Why is it so important? Why is it so crucial to have those affiliate relationships, and what has done for you?
So a lot of small businesses, they want to get into the market, and they want to sell their program or their process or their service. And so they create a website, and they just expect people to go to it. In today's world, they create a social media account, and you might get some traction there. But back what I'm talking about, there was no social media. And so what David taught me, which was, of course, a lot of people that are listening to this and you are very aware of, is you align yourself with another company that's synergistic to what you do. So work for us, that was working with real estate educators that are educating their students on how to buy real estate. Guess what you need? You need earnest money, you need deposits, you need money for rehabs, you need money for marketing. Business credit cards work for all of that. And so working with an affiliate and using that power of that affiliation, that is absolute gold. So I recommend for any small business, of course, direct marketing is one thing, pay-per-click ads, all of this is wonderful, it's great. But something that's a gift that's going to keep giving is to work together with other businesses that have extra leads, that have leads coming in, and they're already giving them their service. Now, your service is ancillary to what they do. You're an add-on. You're helping them to do more of what they do. So the more business credit cards that we get for clients, the more they're able to spend with the affiliate that sent them to us. So it's a gift that keeps giving. And that's kind of how we grew our affiliate network, was just by starting with one affiliate. Then he kind of introduced us to another one. And then we went to events, and then we were speaking at these different events. So we met the other speakers that were there. They were like, wow, I want to sell more of my product. I want my clients to have access to business credit cards so that they can swipe and they can buy. And we're like, that's exactly right. And we're getting them a lot of credit. So we ended up working with, at this point in our database, it's insane the amount of affiliates that we work with.
Yeah, I think you mentioned earlier that you've worked with over 1,000 affiliates over time since you started since you've been doing the business.
Yep, some really big affiliates that have sent over 1,000 clients, and then some affiliates that send just a couple clients a month.
Yeah. Again, you don't have to answer this question, but how much money would you have said, ballpark? You don't have to tell me exactly. How much money would you have said, ballpark, that you have made through affiliates relationships?
Since starting, over 100 million.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
Yeah. Actually, if I go in my CRM right now and I look at the total amount, it's 100 million, but we only implemented that CRM in 2019. So all of that before, from 2008 up to 2019 is not included in that.
That is for just affiliates, and that is crazy.
Well, that was our total.
Yeah.
That's our total revenue.
Yeah.
But we're 95% of everything is coming in through affiliates.
Yeah. So, what advice would you give to anybody that might consider setting up an affiliate as a way for them to generate business?
Well, first off, you need to get your affiliates. So going to events is a very good thing. And in today's world, that could be like joining masterminds. Like there's just a variety of them. A really good one here in Tampa is the Family Mastermind, and you can meet so many other businesses, and you can determine if you have any synergy with them. And then from there, what we've done at Funding Grow is we've built our own software over the years. And if I had known how much I was going to spend on that jet, I would not have. I wouldn't have even. It's unbelievable. There's many months we spent 100,000 a month. 60,000, 80,000, 100,000. We've literally spent millions of dollars on it. But this was for the client portal, for the employee portal, and for the affiliate portal. And we set up our affiliate software the way that I would like it to be for me. So when I promote another company, many times I'm wondering, were all those leads really marked for my referral? How many of them converted to clients? How many of them clawed back their refund? I want to be able to know all that data, the conversion rate, I want to be able to go into the portal and click on. I don't want to have to email their assistant and wait for 2 weeks for them to add up a spreadsheet. And then you're like, is this even accurate?
Yeah.
And so having a real-time affiliate system where everything is tracked immediately, where you're not waiting for employees and for the human element to mess it up, just having it in real time, that's huge. And then being able to set up affiliated websites really quickly.
Yeah.
So like a joint venture site where it's like Funding Grow in partnership with Jet, for example.
Yeah.
And then that way you can get that set up quickly. Then you can have your affiliate bring their clients to that site. Another thing that we do is integrations. So we like to integrate our service directly into other affiliate products, perhaps as a module that teaches them about Fund and Grow, or with companies like NerdWallet and LendingTree and Connected Investors, PrivateLenders.com, companies like that, we just connect our databases directly together. And so as people come onto those websites and they're looking for funding, it just populates directly into our database. And then our business development managers can follow up and get people started with business credit.
Yeah. From what I'm hearing you said, that was definitely, I know it was expensive, but it was a well spent investment investing in that. So, yeah, I think that's incredible. From all the different things that you were doing, I think building foundations, strong foundations to really help people really grow as well. So, if you did not have that fantastic software that you just described, maybe you wouldn't have like collected over $100 million from that. So,
For sure.
so I feel like this is probably one of the biggest thing too. Like sometimes people see the enormity of the spend that they might have to build a system or build a software, but in the back end, the things that thing might be able to help you is invaluable.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Especially when you're dealing with so many incoming clients, you have to be able to have some type of software that really sorts it all out. And there's so many different generic CRMs out there, but they don't track the individual credit card approvals, the negotiations, there's so many things that are specific to our company. We couldn't just use a generic Go High Level or Salesforce to be able to track all of those things. And so that was kind of important that we did set up our own.
yeah. If you're just tuning here today, you are tuning in at the DSF Talk Show here, and we have Ari Page, and we're going to be talking about his journey from working from the shipyard to fund over $2 billion. And we are going to be talking a lot about some of the really cool tools and things that you may not know about credit. And if you're watching this too and you have questions that you might want to ask, I have like a note over there where I can kind of see some of the questions. So feel free to add them. Maybe we'll have time and we'll be able to address them live on the show. Let's go.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. So one thing I don't want to gloss over, and because I love all of these guys and I want to give them a proper shout out. You mentioned Mastermind earlier. They're are some really fantastic ones. Family Mastermind, shout out to Matt Andrews. Collective Genius, shout out to Jason Medley and the crew.
Tom Kroll.
Tom Kroll from Coaching Inc.
Yeah.
I love Tom Kroll. Um, I've only
Mike
met
from Investor Fuel.
Mike and Bright.
Yeah.
But I was gonna say Tom Kroll. I have met Tom officially this year, and
Mhm.
he's been like one of my favorite human being, and like being part of Coaching Inc. and traveling, and actually that was the second time that we met, and we sat down and have lunch in Nashville the last time, and then
That was fun.
yeah, that was a
Yeah.
blast.
And,
So
and one more, Charles Bird from Pure JV. That's one of the most impactful masterminds I've been part of. It's unbelievable how much this guy gives back, constantly connecting me with affiliate after affiliate after affiliate, like personally himself, following up with both sides, making sure that the connection happened. It's a really good one. Pure
Yeah.
JV.
why is mastermind so crucial to growing a business?
So that you can meet other affiliates. And not only meeting affiliates, but you're also gonna get a lot of education. You're gonna learn a lot by being around your peers, being around people that are running other successful organizations, and kind of teaching you. Like every time I go to a mastermind, I realize how much I need to learn. Like at the Tom Kroll mastermind, the speakers were absolutely amazing, and many of them are companies that we're already working with, and to learn how their systems work, I'm like, I got so much work to do. Oh my goodness. And so educating me, and of course, in that case, I had brought my marketing team and a couple other team members. So we're all, furiously writing down notes on what we can do differently, how we can upgrade our systems. And we've actually made a lot of changes just from that last one. When was that? In November, right?
Yeah,
Or October.
October or
Yeah.
November. I think it was, yeah, October or November. And I cannot wait for the next one, which is going to be in
In
Orlando.
Orlando. Yeah.
And I think April. So it's gonna be fantastic. Yeah, I mean, some of the biggest relationship, biggest friends, biggest lessons that I've learned are from Mastermind and from being surrounded by some of the like-minded individuals. Like for example, the very first, and I say that every single time because it's so awesome. The first Coaching Inc. mastermind that I went to, Matt Andrews from Family Mastermind did a presentation, and one thing that he said that has stuck with me was the best collaborators win. And this is kind of what you're saying over here too, how much affiliates has added to your business.
Yeah.
Those are all the collaborators, like the people that do not kind of try to keep everything to themselves, the people that kind of opens the opportunity to work with other people. And obviously you said that earlier, that was the biggest lessons that you've learned from going through that Amish like community. The people that opens themselves up to collaborate with other people are the ones that truly win, that advance further. They say it's true. They say that you are the five people that you surround yourself with. And even this morning, I'm going on a tangent right now. Like one of my great friend, Jose Vega, and I've made a post about this morning. Um, Literally, secretly, he reached out to USA Wire to write a whole article about the studio. I did never ask him to do that. Like I really wasn't expecting that. He just texted me and said, "Hey, check this out." Been working behind the scenes to do that for you. And those are the types of collaborators that
Yeah.
you want to be associated with. Um, those people that wants to give without expecting anything in return too. And obviously, it's a symbiotic relationship. Sometimes when you give without expecting anything in return, you get back that tenfold.
Yep.
So
Part of the law of attraction.
yeah, that's where I was headed with
Yeah.
that too. So yeah. Yeah, I love masterminds. I shout out to any of those people that I just mentioned earlier. Tom Kroll from Coaching Inc., Matt Andrews from Family Mastermind, Jason Medley from Collective Genius. I didn't know the last one that you did, and Mike and Bright from Investor Fuel. I didn't know the other ones, but I'll definitely look into it as well. Yeah,
Yeah.
awesome. So I just wanted to mention that because I think masterminds are one of the best way for anybody to grow their business, because that helps you be surrounded with like-minded individual, that helps you get the opportunity to learn, and also by creating those affiliated relationship that can propel your business forward.
Yeah. And there's a lot of different events you can go to. You can go to like a lead facing event. Like I was speaking at Nate Barger's event in Cincinnati 2 months ago, and that was for bringing on onboarding clients. But the difference with a mastermind is that you're not going to bring on clients there. You're not going, that's not a lead facing event. That is a peer event where you are going to meet other companies that you can work with. And so a lot of times people are just trying to find stages to speak on. They're just trying to sell their product, sell their product, sell their product. And that's great. That's also awesome. But what's even better is to find affiliates that are going to sell your product for you.
Yeah.
That where you just create a integration or an affiliation, a joint venture, and then you're selling many, many of your units.
Yeah, absolutely. Are you guys ready to delve in some of the amazing things we're going to be talking about credit?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Awesome. So one of the things that I know you talk about a lot is how to buy a house with a credit card. So my first question for you, how do you buy a house with a credit card?
Well, that's a great question, right? So when you think of a credit card, so many times people think of bad debt. They just think of a problem. They don't think of advancing their business. They don't think of a return on investment. But a credit card is a wonderful tool that could be used in some parts of the country where you could actually buy a full house with a credit card. We have clients that have credit cards that are 100, 150,000 just on one card alone. But through the card stacking process, you're building, hundreds of thousands of dollars. But using a credit card with a service, like for example, one of the services that we're affiliated with is called Plastic. And it's the word plastic, but ends with a Q. Some people call it plastique. But I'm not French, so
Yeah.
I just call it plastic. But so if you go on that website, you'll see that you can add credit cards into your portal. So you create an account with them, which is free. Then you can add your credit cards in. Then you can upload a statement or a invoice from any vendor. Now, let's say that these vendors don't accept credit card, because if they did accept credit card, you would just go and swipe it with them. But in the case that they don't accept credit card, you create an account at Plastic. You upload the different credit cards that you want to use. You upload for example, like the closing statement. If you want to fund an escrow account, then you decide: do I want to wire? Do I want to ACH? Or do I want to send a check? Then once you've made your decision, and the most expensive one is sending a wire. That's at like 2.9%, which, by the way, on these credit cards, you get up to 3% cash back. So it's just a wash, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So they then send the wire to title, it deposits into the escrow account, and it's pulled directly off the credit cards. Now, something I want to throw in here real quick is that there's a lot of companies out there that do what we do. I'd like to say copy what we do. And because we've been doing this for 19 years.
Mm-hmm.
And
wow, incredible.
They talk about liquidating credit cards or pulling the cash off the credit card. That right there is completely violating Visa, MasterCard, American Express rules. So it always amazes me when I see companies out there talking about that and using that type of verbiage and language, because the truth of the matter is the only way to get cash off a credit card without violating Visa, MasterCard, American Express rules is a cash advance. And cash advances are horrible. They're at like 25%. And most of the time you can't even do the full limit of the card. You can only do like 30% of the card or less. And so a cash advance is not an actual way to get money off the card. It's really important that you learn about these third-party services. And the only one that can fund real estate ventures, that can deposit money into an escrow account, for example, is Plastic. There's many of these companies out there: Bill.com, Melio Payments, Zill Money. Those ones will send a check or ACH or a wire to almost any company, but they won't do an escrow account. So if you want to buy a house with a credit card, you're going to first get access to a high limit card, and then you're going to use plastic.com. And then it doesn't even have to be one card. You can put a spread of 10 cards in there and say, I want to pull 25,000 from this one, 15 from this one. And then you decide, check, ACH or wire.
This is incredible. Yeah, never would have thought that somebody can purchase a house using credit card. That's crazy. So you just kind of mentioned that a little bit, and I want to expand on that a little bit. What is credit card stacking?
So credit card stacking is when you're going after multiple credit cards at the same time. Like, for example, the way we do it, when a client gets started, we first do a credit review of their personal credit, because a business credit card is going to look at your personal credit, but they're then going to report the card to your EIN number. So the EIN number is a tax ID number. It's another name for saying it. It's basically the social security number of your business. And by doing that process, you're able to keep the credit card off of your personal credit. Now, if the credit card was showing on your credit report, then the utilization of actually using the card would pull your scores down, and you couldn't do the card stacking process. The card stacking process is by me applying for 4 or 5 of these accounts, then a few months later, applying for another 4 or 5 of these accounts. Over a 3 or 4 rounds of funding, we're able to get clients $200,000, $300,000 of cards. But if they were personal cards, and then the client was going and using the cards and maxing them out, we wouldn't be able to do card stacking. It has to be business cards. On personal cards, if you use more than 35% of the limit of the card, or the utilization, so if I have a $10,000 card and I put more than 3,500 on it, my scores start coming down. I'm not going to be able to apply and get access to more credit cards. But if I use a business card, now that utilization ratio goes all the way up to 60%. So I can use the entire card, but then 2 to 3 months later, when I go to do another round of applications, in that case, I don't need to pay it down to 35%. I only need to pay it down to 60%. So you can still use more than half of the card and carry a balance on it and still go for the next round of funding. In fact, with business cards, they want to see the utilization. Of course, they still want to see you pay it down before you apply for more. I say pay it down to at least 60% utilization. So business credit cards give you more versatility, because you don't have to pay them all the way off or down to 35% in order to continue going for another round of applications.
Yeah. I think a lot of people listening to this might be wondering about the next question that I'm going to ask. What are some of the dangers of credit stacking? And as you've been doing this for over 20 years, how do you help people mitigate those dangers?
So the dangers are, what if you get in over your head? What if you put too many inquiries on your credit report? And the answer is, for businesses that are coming to Fund and Grow, they're looking to generate a return on investment. They're not going and buying new iPhones with their credit cards. They're going and they're buying materials and they're buying supplies. They're buying things that their business needs anyway. They're not just making up expenses. They're not going and buying vacations. Although you can spend the cards on whatever you want, but it's important that you have a strategy and you have a plan. Fund and Grow actually has a program to help people with that. We have other affiliates that we work with that also specialize in certain types of investments to help them grow. But most businesses come to us where they already have a business plan. They already know, if I got another $200,000 in credit, I could do these pay-per-click ads. I could buy more properties. When my cash is frozen in my last deal, like with a property, I can use the credit cards to use that as earnest money, down payments, to get into my next loan, to get another mortgage, to be able to fund a DSCR loan, or to be able to fund a rehab on my next property. And so it really allows you to move forward if you have a good business plan. Now, if you're the type of person that's just going to ring up the cards and you're not going to spend it wisely, then I would not recommend getting involved in credit stacking. Now, the other thing is inquiries. So this could be a risk. Like when you apply for 4 or 5 cards, they're going to put 4 or 5 inquiries on your credit report. Now, this used to be like a really big deal for clients, and sometimes people would go and they would dispute those inquiries and try to remove them, which, by the way, I do not recommend doing anymore. Do not, if you have a card that you've applied for and they approved and you got the card and then you go and dispute the inquiry, they're going to shut the card down. It didn't used to be like that in the old days. You used to be able to dispute the inquiries, get them removed, and you would still keep the card. But in today's world, if you've been approved for a card and then you dispute the inquiry, they're going to actually shut the card down. So that's a pro tip for people to remember. Do not dispute inquiries that have resulted in an approval, because now the bank thinks that, if the inquiry was wrong, then the account is wrong too, and we got to shut that down. So, but an inquiry showing up on your credit report, let's say you got 4 or 5 inquiries, and this isn't like going to an auto dealer where you apply for a car loan and suddenly 17 inquiries show up. There's 1 inquiry per credit card. And so now when they show up on your credit report, is it going to affect your scores for a little bit? Sure it is. It's going to affect your personal scores. But the good thing is that the credit cards themselves won't appear on the credit report. They're going to report to your business credit reports like Equifax and Experian Business. They also report to Dun & Bradstreet Business, building you corporate credit so that you can eventually get corporate mortgages. And we could talk more about that. But in a few months after the applications, your credit's going to be right back where it was, even with those 4 or 5 inquiries on there. And as long as you use your utilization properly on your cards, meaning you actually use the cards, then you pay them down, even to just the limits I talked about before, like the 60%, you're going to be able to apply and get access to more cards. You don't have to dispute and remove all those inquiries. Inquiries don't really affect your scores in such a detrimental way as a lot of people believe.
Yeah, awesome. If you're just tuning in, we are here at the That's So Fire talk show talking to Ari Page, the CEO of Fun and Grow, about some of the amazing thing that he's doing with his business. He, as you can see, he has generated over $2 billion in funds with for a different organization. And if you want to learn more about this, definitely go to Ari's page. They have Facebook and website and all of that too. But if you also want to learn more about this kind of conversation that we're having, please make sure that you hit the subscribe button. Go to Facebook and YouTube and Instagram and search for DSF Talk Show. And looking forward to see you there. My next question for you, Ari, is Dave Ramsey. Dave Ramsey talks a lot about not using credit cards at all. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that Dave kind of has it wrong here. He doesn't want people to use leverage. It absolutely blows my mind. Just on the very front of our website, you can look at the story of one of our clients, Marley Brodsky. And she started a home health company off of $200,000 of credit cards that we got her. And she's making incredible money, all based off of using the credit cards. And she's paid all of it off. Why would she not have used business credit cards for leverage? It's absolutely insane to even tell people that. Like, I guess if you're born with a silver spoon, then no, you don't need to use any type of leverage. But to tell people not to use leverage, should we not use a mortgage to buy a house? Should we not use an auto loan to buy a car? Should we not use a business loan in my business? That's just crazy.
Yeah. I also think maybe for the right people, that can be a really great tool to be able to advance their business. But for some other people, when they are actually using the credit cards wrong, or using it to just kind of buy the liabilities over the assets that they need to use that for, that would basically pay the credit card back. I think those are for the people that should be using it, and for the people that just kind of want to spend money left and right with the credit cards and having no plans to pay that off, that could potentially be a little bit dangerous.
Yeah, if you don't have plans for a return on your investment and you're investing in liabilities versus assets, then absolutely. Yeah, I wouldn't be using it for your vacation. I wouldn't be using it for buying a iPhone, or back in the day I used to say for buying flat screen TVs, but now they're so cheap.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely for a serious business owner. that wants to be able to grow. And we've gone and audited and looked at our clientele. We would go back like a year and a half to 2 years and look and see what they've been spending their credit on, talk to them, look at their credit report. And we find a very low percentage, below 3% of them are defaulting or having any kind of issue. And
Wow.
there's always going to be, when we deal with as many people as we deal with, we've served 35,000 clients. You're going to have a percentage of them that have a
100%.
problem,
Yeah.
but those people would have had a problem anyway. It's not the credit card that caused the problem. It is their decisions, their choices. And for the other 97% of clientele, they were able to leverage, they were able to grow their business, and just story after story after story of clients being able to create something. In fact, when you go and you might relate to this, like when you go on a cruise and you're going to all the different islands, and you go to these different islands and you see the buildings that are being built and they have the rebar sticking out the top because mom and dad built first level, the kids built the second level, and their kids, it's waiting for the third level to be built because they don't have as easy access to other people's money. They can't leverage. And so it becomes so much more difficult to be able to grow just for their primary residence. It's difficult, much less the American dream, the idea of you being able to grow, to be able to have a business, to be able to be financially free. That's not going to happen in many cases for a lot of people without having access to some form of leverage.
Yeah, absolutely. We talked a little bit about credit card stacking. My next question for you is how much credit cards, what's the amount? How much credit cards can you stack?
Well, you can actually get quite a bit of credit cards. As long as you're using the cards and paying them off, then you can continue the stacking process. So let me explain a little bit about the stacking process. So let's say that I apply at Chase Bank and I'm approved for a $20,000 card and it has 0% for 6 months, 8 or 9 months, 12 months, whatever the offer is. 12 months later, when the 0% is about to expire, you can go back to the same bank and apply for another card. Chase Bank, for example, allows multiple cards from the same bank. And so if you apply for another card, they might, let's say they only give you 10,000. More than likely, they'd probably give you 20,000, but just for the sake of the conversation, let's say they give you 10,000. Now, you might say, well, 10,000 is not enough to move what was on the $20,000 card over. I haven't paid it down enough. Well, you don't need to. What you do is you call the bank and you ask to merge the accounts together. When you merge them, that card where the 0% is about to expire now has 0% over it again. This is card stacking. It's that simple. So you are building your limits higher while also going to new institutions and applying for new cards and then doing the same card stacking process. Not every bank allows you to open multiple different cards. Some of them have a limit, but many banks, especially the major banks, they do. And that's the banks that we're starting with, is the major banks. And if you have a banking relationship with a bank, that's more gold now than ever before. Having that relationship opens the doors. Back in the day, it really didn't used to open the doors for a credit card. It was all about the credit report. But now having that relationship really helps.
Absolutely. So as you are going through that credit card stacking process, what's the maximum that you can build to?
Okay, so I've personally had 800,000 in credit cards, a little over that actually, at one time. And I
Wow.
could have had more had I been using the cards. On my last round of funding, I only got 115,000 over a spread of 4 cards. I would have gotten the fifth one had I been utilizing the previous card I had with that bank properly, but they turned me down because of the lack of utilization. So they're like, "Why are you applying for new cards when you didn't even use the last one?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm the credit card stacking guy, so I have to do it." But at the time, I just wasn't using the cards as much. Our clients are utilizing as much as possible. And so we have clients in our system that I can go in and I can see they've received 700,000, 600,000, 500,000. We only advertise up to 250,000. So But if most clients come to us in between a 680, a credit score of 680 to 720, in that instance, you may be looking at getting around 100 to 150,000 over 3 rounds of funding.
Wow.
But if you come with a 770 or an 800 score, obviously everything on all the accounts, everything is going to show differently on the credit report. You got a lot more history. It's a stronger credit profile. You're going to look at getting more around 300, 400,000 over those same 3 to 4 rounds of funding. So your personal credit plays a big part in how much you're going to get. And then how many years in a row that you do this is going to also play another big part. I've been doing this for a very long time. So as a good average, I would say it's fairly easy and simple to build up to $200,000, $300,000 of this type of credit cards if you have good credit.
This is insane. This is awesome. $800,000 at one point,
Yeah.
almost $1 million that you've like stacked up. That's crazy. You talk a lot about asset protection. How do you use credit cards for asset protection?
Yeah. So this is when people are going to be like, asset protection with a credit card? How does that work? But I'll give some real life examples. So when we installed a camera system at the Fund and Grow office, because data security is very, very important, it was $100,000 job. And there was a whole variety of different types of cameras. It was even the doors, the way that the mag locks work, and the key fobs for employees to be able to get in. It's tied to the camera system. It's all one system. And so we worked with this contractor, and they did a great job. They were referred by the camera manufacturer themselves. And we worked with this local contractor. They installed, and everything was great. So I was like, you know what? I'm doing an upgrade at my house. I need to run fiber optic between all the different like the guest house and the main house and all the different other buildings. And here in Florida, we get all kinds of lightning.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've had my entire network burnt out before.
Wow.
From having Cat 5 cables running. So we wanted to convert it all over to fiber optic so that it couldn't translate a charge. So I was like, well, we did a big job with this other company. I think this would be a good company to go with. So they came out, they took a look, they quoted me for $35,000. They had the job about 3/4 of the way completed, and they stopped showing up. They successfully completed a $100,000 job at the Fund and Grow office. And then doing a minor job at my house, suddenly they stopped showing up. Well, thankfully, I had put the $35,000 on a credit card. So, of course, I was calling them like, hey, where are you guys? I was texting them. I was emailing them. I was sending pigeons, but I was not hearing back from them. The only recourse I had was to turn the credit card over, call the number on the back, and do what's called a chargeback. So the credit card bank became my enforcer. They simply pulled the money out of that contractor's account, that $35,000, put it back on my credit card temporarily. They then reached out to the contractor to verify my story. They couldn't get through to him either. In that case, all $35,000 was returned.
Wow.
So I had another instance where I put a hot water solar heater on my house for the pool. And there was a couple other things involved. It was about a $20,000 job. And it was like a eco pool pump. It was some type of eco insulation, and it was a variety of things. But this company could not get the solar panel itself. It's like one of the water solar panel things. They couldn't get it to pass inspection. And they were blaming it on anybody but themselves. They were blaming it on the inspector, on the county, on me. Either way, the job was red tagged. The permit was not closed out. So the county's like calling me like, hey, you can't just have this open permit on your house. It has to be closed. And I'm like, well, I can't get them to come back out. I went online. I left a Better Business Bureau dispute. They didn't care. I guess that's the way they already operated. I did everything I possibly could to get this company to come out until I realized I need a charge back. So I turned over the credit card. I called the bank and I told them what was going on. They sucked the 20,000 out of this business's bank account. They returned it on my credit card. And in this instance, the contractor was calling me the next day. Hey, Ari, what's going on? We'll come out. We'll get that job finished. So they came out. They were looking at it. They were like, well, they gave a bunch of excuses. Ultimately, they were able to buy another part. They were able to install it. The county came out and inspected it and said, yes, this passes inspection. And then the credit card bank allowed the transaction to go through. So if you're dealing with a contractor that you're not sure about, put it on a credit card. And in fact, credit cards in many cases give you protection and warranty over products that you're purchasing with the card. A lot of people don't realize that. Look at the fine print of your card. You'll see that even buying products on a store shelf, they will cover like replacement of it if it gets stolen, if it gets lost. A lot of times people are using a credit card and not even realizing all the protections that they're gaining from using the card.
Wow.
But especially with using chargeback, let's say that you're putting a roof on a property and you're in an area that you're not, where it's new for you. And so you don't have a contractor there that you're used to trusting. Put it on a credit card. When you want to be arguing and going to small claims court in some new area that you're investing, that you're either burring or flipping properties or whatever you're doing, do you want to be paying them with ACH or cash or check when you could be using a credit card and getting 3% cash back and getting the peace of mind of asset protection, of you being able to reverse that charge at any time? And then the bank becomes your enforcer.
Yeah. So this is how you use a credit card as asset protection. Let's go. That was great. Like when you originally, I obviously no credit cards and doing all of that. When we had our pre-show call, when you mentioned that, like I was like, that makes sense. Like when you don't trust somebody of the work that they're going to be doing, like maybe you have that little inkling that says, hey, that person might not be who they say they are. That's a great way to protect yourself for any eventual bad business dealings that you may have with those people. So that was a really great takeaway. What is the biggest misconception that people have as it relates to credit cards?
Well, one of the things is that you can't spend it where you want to spend it. And that's where those very useful third-party vendors that are approved with Visa, MasterCard, American Express come into play, where you can literally pay any vendor, whether they accept credit card or not, by using the like the example I gave earlier of buying a house with a credit card. So a lot of people wouldn't think that you can buy a house with a credit card or that you can spend it on these types of items, that these assets that aren't traditionally covered by a credit card. Like some title companies will, for escrow, they'll accept credit card, but not every title company, and they might have a limit. But if you go to plastic, there's no limit. You could fund the entire thing. And so this way you can show up as a cash buyer. You're not actually liquidating the card or pulling the cash off the card, but you are able to fund the escrow account as if you're a cash buyer. The seller doesn't know the difference of where that money came from. They don't know that you pulled it off a credit card. So I think that a lot of people believe that a credit card can only be spent in a certain way, and they don't realize that it's the only kind of loan that will pay you.
Yeah. One thing I overhear some people say, and I want to ask you that question as the expert, what are some of the platforms that people can use to turn credit cards into cash?
So now you can't exactly turn it into cash, but you can do a wire transfer to a legitimate business. You can't wire it to yourself. You can't wire it to your own business, but you can pay other legitimate vendors, other businesses, like a title company, like a roofing company, any kind of company that does not accept credit card. All you have to do is take the invoice, upload it into these third-party processors, choose which card you want to pay, and then they will either send a check, they'll send a wire, or they'll send a ACH. Now, you can't just cash out of the card, because that's against Visa, MasterCard, American Express rules. And it's important that we stay compliant.
Yeah. I think a really good point that you just say that a lot of people think credit card is credit card, but you can use it to wire funds, to pay it as a check, and to do some other things like that. I think this is like a really great takeaway that many people might not know, that you can utilize a credit cards to do this kind of stuff, because there is a lot of people when they paying something and they ask, okay, we only accept ACH or we only accept check and stuff like that. So now with the tools that you just described, they can use that, still use their credit card to be able to pay those amounts via wire.
Exactly.
Or,
And sometimes cards will, when you get approved for them, they'll actually give you balance transfer checks. But that's not a guarantee. That used to be more back in the day. We used to be able to, almost every card would come a balance transfer checks, but they don't anymore. That's where these third-party services really come in.
yeah. One of the things that we talked about earlier before we started the show, you mentioned about getting paid with credit cards. How do you get paid using a credit card?
Yeah, Dave Ramsey is going to really not like this one. So, have you ever had a mortgage that sent you a check?
Yep.
You have? You've had a mortgage that paid you?
No, I thought you meant something else. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've never had a mortgage that paid me. I always pay the mortgage.
You pay the mortgage.
Yeah.
Have you ever had an auto loan that sends you a check? No.
Unless if I overpay.
Unless if
Which-
you overpay. Yeah. Which, by the way, is a really cool strategy to overpay. Shout out to my friend James Lascara from the Elite Investor. He was just talking about this, overpaying an escrow account. And then what do? When they return the money to you, they don't put it back on the credit card. They send you a check. So that is a way of pulling cash out. But, that's kind of separate. So now back to getting paid from a credit card. So if you've had a mortgage, you don't get paid from the mortgage. You pay the mortgage. If you have a hard money loan, private money loan, DSCR loan, no matter what kind of loan, you're paying the loan. The loan's never paying you. And so if you're using a regular loan to pay for business services, business materials, rehabs, then it's costing you money. It's costing you interest and maybe points for closing and all that. But it's not paying you back. Now, when you use a credit card for the same thing, let's say that you're spending $200,000 a month on pay-per-click ads. If you put that on a credit card, which you have to because pay-per-click requires a credit card, then you're going to get cash back with the right card. You use the right card, you could get up to 5% cash back. Many of them give 3% cash back. So let's say on $200,000 at 3% cash back, that's $6,000 a month that you're getting back. That's more than the cost of the entire Fund and Grow program. And so the only type of loan that will pay you, and I know this upsets Dave Ramsey, is a credit card. And we're not talking about making up spending here. We're talking about you doing the normal spending that your business would have been doing out of its checking account, out of other forms of loans. Instead of doing it with those with straight cash or doing it with other types of loans that are costly, by putting on a credit card, you're going to earn the cash back. And so, especially if you have to use one of those payment platforms that we were talking about, that way you're at least not paying the fee, because as you use the card itself, you get cash back on just the very usage of the card. And another thing to add in here, I don't think we talked about this one, was people often ask, how can I get a 0% card and the banks are making any money off that? It just doesn't make any sense. Well, if it's 0%, how are the banks not making money? Well, every time you swipe a credit card and use a credit card, the merchant is paying an interchange fee. They're having to pay 2%, 3%, 1% of the transaction. The banks literally make billions of dollars just off of you swiping and using the card, completely separate from the interest of the card. And so, yeah, after the 0% introductory period, and that could be 6 months at 0%, 9 months, 12 months, 18 months. The longest one that we've seen is 24 months at 0%. But after that period of time, sure, the bank is going to make some interest. They don't know that you're working with us and that we're doing credit stacking and we're going to continue getting you access to 0% cards. But for the average credit user out there, they're making money off of the interest. But people just completely underestimate how much money the banks are making simply off of the swiping of the card, the using of the card, and that's all built into the merchant's product. So when you go to Home Depot and you're buying material off of the store shelf, that 3% fee is built into the cost of the product.
Mm.
And the bank is getting paid off of you simply using the card. It really has nothing to do with the 0%.
Wow. Wow. Very good. You talk a lot about different cards and like what are some of the ones that are 0%? What are some of the best cards that people can get today that could advance their business?
Great question. So Chase Bank is probably one of the best cards that you can get. It's like we'll get a client on their first round a $60,000 Chase card, and of course, if they have a 750, 770 score, we'll get them like 60,000 just on a Chase card alone. Then by the time it comes for round three, which could be like 6, 7, 8 months later, we'll get them another $100,000 from Chase Bank. Chase Bank is by far the largest approver that we work with. So, but there's other great ones. Bank of America is absolutely amazing. American Express, absolutely amazing. American Express, though, is a bank that does not allow plastic to fund an escrow account.
Mm.
They're the only one because that would violate American Express's card user agreement. So American Express is the only one. But another great one is US Bank. And then honestly, all of the major banks are really good to work with. But then, depending on your footprint, your local geographic footprint, where you live, there's a variety of other local banks, credit unions that we will take our clients to. If you live in New Jersey, there's a whole plethora of them. If you live in Oregon, there's a whole plethora of them. And they're not the same. They don't overlap. They only are regional banks, but they offer 0%. Many times it's through bigger affiliates. Like, for example, there's this credit card bank called Elan, not Elon, Elan. And they are a private label credit card bank. So you might be using a Barclays card, and actually it's underwritten by Elan. You might be using a card from your local credit union, but actually it's an Elan card. And so there's just so many. On our list of credit card banks, I believe we have over 100 different credit cards. Now, depending on where you live, you can get access to them, but that's for all of our clientele. We serve all 50 states, and it's just absolutely amazing. And they're actually changing it all the time. So small little credit unions will start to offer a credit card, a business card. Some of them will only do a personal card, and they won't do a business card. We go after true business cards. Like, another thing, you notice I didn't mention Capital One. Capital One, if you get a business card from them, they report it to your personal credit.
Really?
That doesn't sound like a business card to me, because now the utilization ratio kicks in, and that would inhibit the card stacking process.
Yeah.
So Capital One, kind of a no-no, unless you want to have a personal credit card. Then they could do have a good 0% offer.
Yeah. What do you think about those credit cards that help you invest into like cryptocurrency? Like when you do the transaction and they send a portion of that to like invest in any crypto, I don't know, Bitcoins or whatever thing out there.
Well, I think that those are very innovative and cool. I'm a big crypto guy. I have a lot of crypto because I bought before it went up, and it's gone. I know that everyone's kind of butthurt now because Bitcoin went from 125 down to what earlier today it was like 92,000. Well, if you bought lots of Bitcoin at 8,000 and 16,000 and 30,000, even if it went from 125 to 90, you're still sitting beautiful, right? Yeah. So I'm a big believer in buying crypto in general. Those cards are fairly new, and they're all different in the way they work. But essentially they send the rewards as different forms of cryptocurrency. And I'm basically mainly a believer in Bitcoin itself. Although I do hold a lot of Ethereum, a lot of XRP. I just bought so early that it skyrocketed to multiple six figures on those particular cryptos. But I don't necessarily believe in the charter of those cryptos as much as Bitcoin. Bitcoin is such a unique coin with the way that it works, the way that it was created, and and the fact that it's inflation free in the
Yeah.
sense that they will never add more of it.
Yeah. I guess my question for you too, you don't have to answer it. How early did you buy Bitcoin?
Many years ago, let's see, 12 to 10, I guess it was about 8 to 10 years ago.
Wow. How
Yeah.
much was it at the time?
Well, I bought the cheapest that I ever bought Bitcoin was for 3,500 a coin.
Wow.
And I thought that was expensive at the time, if you can believe.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just like now people are asking, is now a good time to be buying real estate? Just wait 5 years and you're going to wish that you had bought now.
Yeah.
Trust me.
Yeah.
And the same is true with cryptos. I believe that cryptos, still have more to go up. And like everything, they're going to have a correction. But the correction that that Bitcoin is going through right now is no different than the same peaks and dips that it's gone through over the last cycles.
Yeah. Awesome. So, how do you use points or cash back to up level your lifestyle?
So that reminds me of a few years ago, a trip that I went on to Barcelona, Spain. It was a freaking awesome trip. And I hate airports and all the waiting in line makes me feel like a cattle, even if you have TSA pre-check and all of that. So we made sure that we were buying nonstop tickets. So nonstop from Orlando to Barcelona and back. And without doing the multiple stops, the prices of tickets skyrocket. And especially if you're going business class, where you get the bed and you can pull the TV in front of you and they're serving you free drinks. And we went on a trip, me and my wife at the time and my children, and the tickets would have been $55,000. That would have been very hard to come out of pocket for $55,000 just for the trip, just for the airline miles, or I'm sorry, just for the airline tickets. However, on my American Airlines card, or was it American Airlines? It might have been my Barclays. I was on one of my credit cards. I had so many points built up, over 1 million points, that I was able to purchase these $55,000 tickets using points and still have hundreds of thousands of points left over. We were able to use it for the car rentals. In some cases, you can even use it for Airbnbs and those types of rentals. That wasn't really a big thing at the time. But using the points is really huge because you can actually get more value than even getting cash back. They're giving you more than that 3% or that 5%. And here's a tip. Instead of taking your credit card and spending the points directly from the credit card account, because when you log into the credit card account, they're going to show you the points. You're going to be able to look at the things that you can purchase with that. What you do is you go to, let's say, American Airlines. You create an account on AmericanAirlines.com. You then transfer your points from the credit card to the American Airlines account. Now your points become worth even more because you're spending them directly at the airline. So that's a way to, in some case, double your amount of points. Either way, even if you're not doubling them, you're going to add a lot of extra points. And so the credit card game is just huge. You have people that literally specialize in traveling for free just using credit card points.
That is insane. I didn't know that you could transfer points from a card to like a service like American Airlines.
Yep.
How do you do that?
Well, if you have an American Airlines credit card, then you can create an American Airlines account and then you can link them. They're already going to be linked together once you put the card in there. And then there's a function that allows you to transfer the points.
Interesting. That's awesome. It's been so much fun. We've been going on for 63 minutes right now. Typically the shows are around 60 minutes, but it's been so much fun. Learning so much from you. It's been incredible. And again, for the people that are watching this too, obviously we are not a financial institution. It's not a financial show. So he shared a lot of really great information. But if you want to learn more, definitely reach out to him to make sure that you're doing everything correctly and legally. Please do not get this advice from us over here and just kind of do things, on your own and kind of not doing that. Definitely reach out to Ari. Obviously, he is a master and expert at all of these things. So I don't want you to go out there and start doing a bunch of different things and put yourself in financial distress. So definitely reach out to Ari and talk to him, and he's going to be the one guiding you through that. Ari's been such a pleasure having you on the show. So I have 5 or 6 more questions that we're going to be asking over here, and I ask every single guest those questions. So the very first one that I have for you is, what is your $1 million advice?
Hmm. So my $1 million advice, I think I already gave my $1 million advice, and that is to learn to create relationships with other companies that are synergistic, to do joint venture partnerships, to create affiliates. Without that, most small businesses stay super mom and pop, stay very small. You align yourself, and you can see the big companies do the exact same thing. They create partnerships, they work together, and they're able to expand their reach in a crazy way. And that's not just $1 million question. That's a $20 million question, in terms of what we've done in 1 year. And so, like, we were built off of affiliate marketing. So you can make a lot of money with affiliate marketing.
Awesome. My next question for you: if you lost everything today, what would you do to rebuild?
I would go to as many events as possible. If I lost everything, I would get back out there, and first off, utilizing a positive attitude, staying focused on the wanted, on being happy, not being unhappy because of the loss, and get out there and try to create new relationships. And for whatever, I mean, I'm not really an employee kind of guy, so I'm not really good at punching a clock. So for me, my thoughts would turn towards, how can I leverage something? How can I have a service, a product, a program, and then how can I align myself with other businesses that product or program or service works hand in hand with, that they need it for their clients. A real estate company, for example, they need to get their clients access to credit cards, to funding. They need it. And so they want to work together with me. So that's what I would do.
Boom. Um, my next question for you is, what was the hardest lesson that you have learned that have shaped you who you are today?
Wow. So in about the COVID time in 2020, I got divorced. And the divorce itself was wonderful, but it was still very, very, and when I say wonderful, it was, me and my ex-wife are very loving towards each other still, and very positive with each other. And she has her own life now. I have my own life. But it was still very difficult for me because I defined myself as a father, as a husband. I'm still a father, but I defined myself really for 20 years. I was married, and then I got divorced, and it was very difficult for me. And so when I went through that, I ended up stepping down as CEO of my company, and I put other executives in charge. And what happened over the following years was a decline in revenue, where we went from processing close to 2 million a month to like barely half that. And this was a loss of relationships, of affiliates, trust in the market, me being out there, going to the different events. If I could go back and undo that, I never, ever should have stepped down. I should have continued. And earlier this year, I stepped back into the CEO role at Fund and Grow, kind of picking up the pieces of everything that fell apart during that period of time. And I blame myself, not the people that I put in charge. I blame myself because they weren't, no one can build it like the owner can. No one can build it like the person that had originally built those affiliate relationships, that had put their heart and soul into it. They tried, they did everything they could, but they just were unable to harness that energy and to be able to move it forward. And it fragmented, fell apart over time. So if I could go back and undo that, that's what I would do.
Yeah. What is one thing that you wish that you knew earlier or that you understood, um, from like your shipyard days to like starting Fun and Grow? What is one thing that you wish you knew or understood earlier?
Oh, that would definitely would be the law of attraction. I feel like I always was a pretty positive guy, just like you. That's why I call you my Jamaican brother, even though you're from Haiti, because you're so happy and positive all the time. And so I feel like if I had employed that way of thinking earlier in my life, that would be even further along. And even in my last example, if I had employed more of that during the divorce, during the whole process, not feeling so shattered and broken, and focusing not on the unwanted, but on the wanted, on what I want from life. I really feel I would have come out on top faster, quicker, and it took me a while. But going through that process again recently has absolutely revolutionized me. Like I was like 220 pounds. I was like way overweight. I just started focusing on myself, started going on bike rides in my neighborhood by myself. I started meditating. I started working out every day, started running in the morning, plus working out with my trainer. I'm a completely different person now from going through that. So I don't know if I hadn't gone through it, I wouldn't be who I am today. So that's also kind of important and counts for something.
Yeah. I don't know how if you are a learner or anything like that, but one of the questions I'm always fascinated to with is books and stuff like that. So, what was the one book that has made the biggest impact on your life?
Wow. So Abraham Hicks has a book called Ask and It's Given. That book was one of the transformational moments for me after watching that documentary that I talked about called The Secret, which is kind of a flashy documentary. A lot of people get turned off by it because it sounds too good to be true type stuff. But basically, a lot of the books that I've read, even Brendan Burchard's books, that they talk about the power of the mind, about being able to focus on the wanted versus being hypnotized by the unwanted, the negative side of life. And by being able to focus on what we would desire our life to be, that makes it more likely that that's actually going to happen. And so the way that Abraham Hicks and the author for that is Esther Hicks, and you'll have to find out why Esther Hicks calls herself Abraham Hicks. That's on you. But her all of the books that I have from her are transform absolutely transformed me. They're transformational books, and she also has a lot of material that you can watch online, like YouTube videos and stuff like that. And I find it to be one of the best uh, learning lessons for me personally. And it's not for everyone, but for me, it changed my life.
Yeah. If you had to go back to the time that you started this business, what advice would you give to your younger self?
Hmm. The advice I give to my younger self, it would be to take care of my health more, not just to pour myself into my business, but to take the time to do things like going to the gym, like not just eating out every night, truly eating healthy. For me today, I source all of my meat from local organic farms. I don't even trust the grocery store meat anymore. And I wish I had been focusing on these types of things much, much earlier, especially taking care of my body.
Boom. Man, it's been such a fun session with you today. Learned so much about the approval and credit card process, and I feel like you've dropped a lot of really great gem and opened my eyes and some other things too that I wasn't aware of. So thank you for coming on the show today and share your expertise with the audience over here. So for anybody that is watching this that wants to learn more about Fun and Grow or about AiryPage and the overall credit card process, you mentioned that it is a humongous industry and there is a bunch of things that maybe we didn't even have time to touch on today, such as I guess I'm going to ask you that question before we go over there. What is the difference between business credit versus corporate credit?
Oh, that's a great question. So when you're getting business credit, like business credit cards, they're going to report to bureaus like Equifax Business, Experian Business, as well as another bureau called Dun& and Bradstreet. Now, Dun & Bradstreet, the scoring model is called Paydex. And as you build your Paydex score and your Dun & Bradstreet profile, you're going to be able to get access to other forms of loans that are non-recourse. They're loans that don't come back against you personally. So the business credit cards, those are personally guaranteed. They don't show up on your personal credit report, but they're still tied to you as an individual. And so if you were not to pay it, they're going to come after you individually. But by using a business credit card, you're building a Paydex score. And so once your company makes good revenue, you're going to then qualify for corporate mortgages. I bought a variety of commercial buildings using corporate credit. I didn't personally sign for it. I wasn't using a credit card for that. I was using a corporate mortgage. And I did it completely in the entity or the LLC's name. And if I, they're all paid off now, but if they weren't, if I were to have defaulted on the loan, they would not have been able to come after me personally. It would have been completely in the business's name. And so corporate credit is really the goal that we want to get to when we're using bank money. Business credit cards is kind of where we start. It helps you build your profiles. It helps you build your scores. Then once your business is making good money on tax returns, then you're able to go after corporate loans.
Boom. Thank you for sharing that. I wanted to touch on that. And that is a whole different kind of talk show that we could have. But at least I wanted to touch on that a little bit. So for anybody watching this that wants to get a hold of you or to learn more about Fund and Grow, how can they do that?
I would recommend going to fundandgrow.com. So that's fund and grow with the word spelled out, not the ampersand sign. And they could also check us out on YouTube. But yeah, that's probably the best place is to go to our website.
Yeah. Since you mentioned the Fund and Grow website, I know we talked a lot about how you have funded businesses and funding people. How do you help people grow?
Yes, that is a very good, important part of Fund and Grow. It's not just about the funding, it's about helping them grow. And so we actually have a premium coaching program that many of our clients are involved with. And in that program, we are giving them advice on how to grow a business, how to do marketing, how to set up things like merchant accounts, how to it's a whole plethora of different things that are all about a small business or a medium-sized business learning to actually grow. And so we've been there. We've gone through that. We process an incredible amount of sales every single month. We want to teach our clientele, the businesses that work with us, how to do that. So we have this premium coaching program where we teach them that. And so all clients that are signed up with us, they have the opportunity to be part of that premium coaching program.
Yeah.
And I think that we need to bring you onto our premium coaching program to teach them how they can set up a podcast studio, how they can do this, because podcasting's been another really big part of it's just absolutely amazing. I had a story the other day of I was in Nate Barger's group on Facebook, and we're their approved vendor for business credit in there. And so I'm answering questions in there, and this guy was kind of like asking, like, "Hey, what is this whole thing about that you're talking about all the time?" And so I explained it briefly, and there was no response. Then about 4 days later, I see a notification on Facebook where the guy had gone back and commented and said, "Hey, I have a funny story for you. I was on my commute on my way to work, and I was going to put on a podcast, and I love listening to Seven Figure Flipping, to Bill Allen's podcast. And but I'd listened to all the recent episodes, so I scrolled back, and who do I see on there? Ari Page from Fund and Grow. He's like, I listened to your podcast, and all of these questions that I was asking, they're all answered, and I'm ready to get started to get signed up."
Yeah.
And so podcasting is another huge one. That's why we need to bring you to our Fund and Grow premium coaching membership clients so that you can teach them about that.
Boom.
That would be
Let's
awesome.
make it happen, man. That's awesome. Yeah, actually, you just mentioned something too. I want to give a quick shout out to my friends when we were doing that list of when we were doing the list of masterminds earlier, Collective Genius, um, Coaching Inc.,
Family.
Family Mastermind, and all of
Yeah.
that. I did not mention Seven Figure Flipping.
Yeah.
Those guys are awesome. I've had both Bill Allen um, and
Dave.
no, not Dave. Why am I going? He's gonna hate that. He's watching. If he's watching that, he's gonna kill me. Both owners, CEO of Seven Figure Flipping, and on the show. My gosh, I was that no Tom Kroll too from Coaching Inc. Bro, don't kill me, okay? My mind is just like mushy right now, but really love those guys. They're awesome. Seven Figure Flipping.
They are.
Bill Allen flew 60 apples from me from his farm, and those were the best apples that I had. So
Yeah, they're actually in Spring Hill, Tennessee, and Funding Grow is in Spring Hill, Florida.
oh, there's like a synergy right there. But man, so it's been such a pleasure having you on the show today. For anybody that is watching this that may be interested in joining forces with you to learn more about you, how can they get a hold of you?
Well, they can go to fundandgrow.com. And I guess I could give our number for the office.
Yeah.
For getting a hold of me. I mean, I'd say call 800-996-0270.
Awesome. Well,
Okay.
there you have it. It's been such a blast having you on the show. Can't wait to have this episode out. Any parting advice for anybody?
My parting advice. It's crazy. When I think back on history class and we learned about early America, where almost everyone was an entrepreneur. They were a farmer, they were a woodworker, they were a trader. They were bringing their wares directly to market. And here we fast forward hundreds of years, and 99% of the workforce works for a big company. That's crazy to me. Why would you not be bringing your product, your service directly to market and making a premium on it? And that's what Fund and Grow wants to help people with. We want to help you first be able to get access to funding, to leverage, to be able to grow, so that you can bring your wares directly to market. You're not having to work for some corporate giant or some other company. And I love all my employees. I love every single one of them. But I can tell you how near and dear it is to my heart to be a business owner. And that's what Fund and Grow does. We help create business owners, people that go from a startup to a medium to a decent sized business. And so that's my hope and my dream for anyone that's watching the podcast today, is that they're able to do that, to step out from working for someone else and to be their own boss.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was thinking about Adam Whitney. So I don't know.
Oh, yeah. I love Adam.
Whitney, and I don't know. My mind just kind of went blank. But there you have it. It's been such a blast having you on the show. Thanks for coming and sharing.
Thank you, brother.
Looking forward to sharing some of this. There you have it. Again, if you are interested in learning more about Fund and Grow and the different things that they have to offer as it relates to credit card stacking, different things that you may not know how to leverage that to grow your business, definitely reach out to them to at least get learned more from them.
And
but
we can get them pre-qualified for free. So that way you can get a free look at your credit report with no inquiry, a soft inquiry, and find out exactly how much funding you would get before ever engaging any service with us.
Yeah. And also, please don't use this podcast as a financial advice. Go to the professionals and learn from them and figure out how you can actually do it and doing it well. Hope you have a fantastic day. And you know what it is? Let's go, baby. It's fire.